Right now, you're all so eager to hear Dr. Travis Stoner, and we appreciate him being here, and thanks to Nancy and Lee Strain for recommending Dr. Stoner to come and speak with the group, with the part of our speaker series. He's a doctor of physical therapy, and he will be talking on physical therapy, a critical component of your overall well-being. He runs the Fusion Physical Therapy located in Spotsylvania, and he graduated from Shenandoah University in 2002 with a bachelor's degree in kinesiology, and then got his doctorate in physical therapy from Shenandoah in 2005. He has experience in a variety of physical therapy areas, including the neurological, the vestibular rehabilitation, or dealing with vertigo, injuries, total joint replacement rehabilitation, and aquatic physical therapy. And he will speak about these and other issues, including the current research on exercise as we age. I understand that he has an inside track on life here at the Lake of the Woods with his parents, Gail and Greg Stoner, as active residents in our community. Please welcome Dr. Stoner.
Wow, things are already falling for me. Wow, that introduction made me sound a lot cooler than I really am. But hi guys, I'm Travis. I am from a clinic down in Spotsylvania that a few of you have frequented. And speaking of, by a show of hands, how many of you guys have had physical therapy in the past? A lot of you. All right. So, out of curiosity, and just speak freely, I'm really not uptight about questions. If you have a question, raise your hand throughout or whatever. But what have your experiences been with physical therapy? What have you guys gone for? What was your experience? How was your therapist? Stuff like that. Anybody?
I love it. I would go to physical therapy every week if I could. I feel so much better all over. And Travis is fun to look in his eyes.
All right. Are there any non-stalkers though? Yes, ma'am.
I've been off and on for years, and I gave up on it for a long time because I kept having physical therapists that couldn't help me. I had fibromyalgia.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, if I couldn't do what they wanted me to do, then I wasn't trying. And finally we got one that listened. The woman changed my life. She really did, and I've been going as often as Medicare will allow me ever since.
All right.
Great.
Yes, sir.
Knee replacements, both
Yep.
of these.
So some post-surgical stuff?
Oh, yes.
Getting around okay with them now?
Yeah.
Awesome stuff. By the way, I do like hearing that you found a therapist that actually listens. That
It is
I'm
difficult.
going to get into that just a little bit in my presentation. Yes, sir.
I went down here to select physical therapy down the street. I didn't want to go. A friend of mine said to go down there. Well, the doctor, a back doctor recommended, so I had no choice, but I wanted to go local. And I learned some things. They were good. I had for 5 weeks, I had no back problems. And then it was time it was over with, came back, and all hell broke loose on the back. I mean, it just went out totally.
Sure.
But I learned a lot of things, like for example, if my pain's on the left side, you want to also work on the right side. You got to get things like a car lined up, you know, things of that nature. So I learned some
Absolutely.
things. Overall, it was good.
That's great. Yes, ma'am.
Hip surgery and revision hip surgery.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Okay.
Oh, so did you like going to therapy? You felt like they got you walking better?
Yes, after 6 weeks, I couldn't go before 6 weeks, the therapist came to the house and then I went.
Okay, very good.
Lymphedema.
Oh, that's a
Oh,
specialty.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it started 40 years ago, so I've seen it change quite a bit.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
Can you suggest what therapist to go to or whatever? I have to start some therapy. Where are you located? Because I don't drive all over Fredericksburg.
Right now, we have a clinic in the southern part of Fredericksburg and a clinic in Spotsylvania. but we are always looking for expansion.
Where's the
So,
closest one from here?
probably the Fredericksburg one, right? The Lee's Hill, in Lee's Hill.
The other side.
Yeah. But, I mean, outside of that, I'll get into recommendations, but the biggest thing is finding a therapist that works for you, and I'm sure you can definitely echo that.
Yeah.
But there are good ones, there are bad ones,
Yeah,
there's
no.
ones that listens, there's ones that do what I say, and it kind of depends on the setting, which I'll talk about in a little bit.
Okay.
So, you guys have had lots of different experiences. You've seen a lot of gamut that physical therapists can do, which is kind of awesome. This is a little bit about me. The introduction I got sounds a lot cooler than that, so we're just gonna keep on moving from that and shameless self-promotion like I just did. And we did win Best of the Burg this year, which is pretty cool. So pretty excited about that. Yeah. So I am the owner of Fusion Physical Therapy. We have 2 clinics in Fredericksburg and Spotsylvania. The website down there on the bottom is fusionpta.com. And our clinic is really set up as a specialty clinic. We tend to treat a lot of the things that most people don't. But outside of that, you guys, a lot of you have had physical therapy already. I don't really need to go through what the definition of it is, but what a lot of people don't really know is that physical therapists aren't just in a clinic. A lot of us are out doing education, doing research. A lot of us are actually going to people's homes for education, prevention, and wellness across the board. So physical therapists aren't only just in the realm of an outpatient facility. We are in hospitals, we are in your homes, we're all around you. And a lot of times we work with other medical providers to make sure that we're getting you the absolute best care possible. We do prescription of or assistance for specific exercises for common injuries. A lot of you guys are familiar with that. Lymphedema we do, hand therapy we do, manual therapy and manipulation. A lot of therapists do it. We crack backs, crack necks, we can do stuff like that. It doesn't mean we do it all the time, it just means that we can. We provide modalities such as traction, electrical stimulation, heat and cold therapy, ultrasound, cold laser, again, assisted device recommendations. Your cane might not be fitting right, you don't feel comfortable in your wheelchair, anything along those lines, physical therapists are out there to measure you and make sure that you're getting the exact right fit for whatever is best to keep you balanced and well. A lot of what I was just saying you're usually going to a clinic for. Other things that we do is we can actually prevent the loss of mobility before it occurs. A lot of us are spearheading wellness programs and fitness programs specifically designed to help people either with balance or with pain. As an example, a few months ago, a study came out. Yoga is better than physical therapy at preventing low back pain. Some of you may have seen news things out about it. It was a pretty big story for a little while. Except when you actually dive into the research about what it really was, they weren't necessarily wrong, but the yoga program was specifically designed for patients with low back pain by physical therapists. Right? So the headline clickbait stuff that we're all getting all too familiar with in the media, you kind of have to pick and choose what's out there. But the bottom line was that this was the whole point of the study, was that therapists are out there doing more than just the doctor ordered it and I have to come. We're out there designing yoga programs to actually keep people out of our clinics because we care about keeping you well. So, how can you see a physical therapist? Well, in the Commonwealth, we have direct access. You can come right in the door. You actually do not need to see a doctor first. However, some insurances don't cover it. You know the big one that doesn't? Medicare. Medicare does demand a referral, okay? But if you're coming for education, prevention, and wellness, that's not going through Medicare anyway, because oddly enough, Medicare doesn't really care about keeping you healthy. They just want to fix you when you're broken, right? So they don't pay for maintenance and wellness. So you actually can see physical therapists right off the street and we can help set up an exercise program for you. We have 30 days without a physician referral. Generally speaking, if you have something that takes longer than 30 days to start making any kind of an improvement, a good therapist will send you to an appropriate medical professional anyway, because we're probably not the only person that's going to fit all your needs. And actually, a pretty cool thing that's happening in Wisconsin is now we can even start ordering x-rays, and that is a growing trend across the board. Actually, in the military, we can order all kinds of imaging and prescription medications. But for some reason outside of it, we can't really do that in the civilian world. That being said, how do we talk to doctors? Well, we communicate in a bunch of different ways. But generally speaking, we do it through written communication. You'll get a referral from your physician, and you'll come see a therapist, whether it be locally to like Select or to their practice, which I'll get into in a little bit. We'll do an official evaluation on you, and then we'll fax that evaluation to your physician. There's really not an ongoing communication beyond that, except for every 30 days, we're updating whoever referred you to therapy on your progress. So, if you're getting better, we don't really talk a lot about you. But if something goes bad, then we'll talk about you. We'll make a phone call to your referral source, and we'll really try and get in touch with your doctor then. But generally speaking, regardless of what practice you go to, communication between us and the other healthcare professionals are pretty much like it is everywhere else. If something's going wrong, we'll communicate. After the first visit, we'll communicate, and then it's really just kind of like monthly updates. So we're not in this really constant communication all the time. If we don't think you're getting better, we're going to refer out. If we did get you better, and you want to stay better, we'll also refer you out. Or some practices, like mine, actually have a wellness program set up to keep you going and keep you healthy. You guys at Lowlink, you guys that are actually the volunteers, you're somewhat familiar with this because you're going in your home and you're keeping your clients moving. You're trying to keep them in the home and keep them well as long as possible. That's something that we do. We do have frequent communication with these. These are just some of our community partners that we've gone around. Energized Intentions is a dietitian with Faye Krause. She's excellent at looking at nutrition and getting you better through food. Rare CrossFit has a bunch of different types of exercise programs for all walks of life, and Alive by Design Chiropractic Center are ones that we like to recommend. Now, with that being said, these are just our recommendations. We can't force you to go anywhere. So I want to talk about physician-owned practices. You guys are familiar with these around the area. This would be like Fredericksburg Orthopedics Associates, Liberty Physical Therapy, and I'm not going to downplay them. I just, as a very professional person that worked very hard on my degree, don't believe in the lack of autonomy that we're allowing ourselves to go under. There's a couple of different reasons for that I'm going to get into. I just feel that they should actually be illegal, and I'm going to tell you why. You guys have seen the big get bigger throughout, right? How many of you guys bank at Wachovia? What's that? Right? First Union. Who are those guys? Right? The big keep getting bigger. Mary Washington is one of the few small independent hospitals that's still around. Hold on to it. Centara bought Potomac Hospital when I was working up in Woodbridge. Centara and Pratt just kind of disassociated themselves. But there's a lot of big groups that just keep getting bigger. And overall for me, that's a little bit of a concern because we're seeing small guys get overtaken by big guys. And to me, that breaks up a lot of the autonomy that you actually have as a medical professional. A physician-owned physical therapy practice is one where there's actually a financial gain by the physicians for having a practice, okay? And again, just at the clash between whether it's okay to have physician-owned practices is really, should one profession be able to claim financial ownership over another profession that's completely independent? And even within that, there are a lot of consequences within that. There's a lot of conflicts of interest involved. Like as an example, the therapist working for the physician might not be so keen on referring you out, or might want to see you longer because they know that their boss is going to keep ordering it, which is the physician. The physician might actually see you and order physical therapy maybe when it's not warranted. You might not really need it, but they're going to send you anyway because they're getting financial gain from their own physical therapy practice. Okay? Now, physician associations have long argued that this is okay because physical therapy is actually an ancillary service. Except we can be independent and we're in a bunch of different places, so that argument's kind of null and void. A lot of times you just do what your doctor says. We've heard that coming around, right? The doctor ordered me to therapy, so I went. Well, a lot of times physicians that own their own practice, they don't tell you you have options. Doesn't mean you don't. And they're not actually lying to you, they're just saying, well, I have a PT clinic right across the hallway there. Why don't you go over there and see those guys? And that's fine. You are more than able to do that. I'm not here to gain your business. I'm not even here to say you shouldn't go there. I'm here to tell you that you have a choice. Nobody can tell you where to go. A case manager, a nurse practitioner, a physician assistant, your surgeon, no one can tell you where to go. If you want to have therapy at home, you can do that. There's places out there that can help you with that. So my whole point is just know that you guys have a choice, okay? And this last slide right here is just, yes ma'am?
Are you going to talk about hospitals owning physical therapy clinics, or is this a subcategory? Because we see so much of that.
It is a subcategory. I'm not gonna get into it because of time constraints,
Okay.
but I don't agree with that either. And a lot of physicians used to not agree with that either. And so, also with the big getting bigger, as with Pratt, big hospitals are going around buying up places. There's also a lot of big companies that are going around and buying up little guys like me, and the big keep getting bigger. We had 3 clinics open up recently called Pivot Physical Therapy. They're a gigantic company that's spread by over 200 clinics in the past year.
Wow.
Yeah, because they're going around buying places and opening up, and they're not really caring about the quality of care as much as they are expansion. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Again, I'm not poo-pooing anybody that wants to go to a Pivot or anybody that works there. It's just that there are a lot of big places getting bigger, and they actually are a private practice. But as far as hospitals owning, a lot of physicians used to not do it, but then they started seeing benefits. As an example, if you work at Mary Washington and you go to a Mary Washington place, your copay is drastically reduced.
Ah.
Inova has the same program. If you work at Inova and you have Inova's insurance, they want to keep you inside. And that part to me is, again, I feel like that's a violation of a Stark law, but I'm a small guy in an ocean. I don't have the resources to go against it, but I don't really like that either. The whole point of this slide is to know that in physician-owned practices, physical therapy was initiated 2.3 times more than in independent places. And in physician-owned practices in Florida, they actually found that you had 50% more visits if you were going to a physician-owned practice than a non-physician-owned practice. And so that's just kind of a little bit of study saying maybe some of this referral for profit shouldn't be great. We're going to skip over this a little bit. This is stuff on Stark laws, and Stark law started off with physician-owning labs. And then everyone needed labs. Everybody coming in the door needed blood work because the physician owned a lab. And they said, well, let's not let physicians own their own lab anymore. But then they switched it, like, well, I don't. My wife owns the lab, and I'm renting to her in my space. Fair, good call. So a few years later, they're like, yeah, any family member can't do it, okay? Now, this actually included physical therapy until they labeled physical therapy as an ancillary service, and now they're calling it Incident 2, which is why physicians can own their own physical therapy practice. The thing is You have to go to that physician and you can't go anywhere else. And you can't go back there without first seeing a physician. That's how they're doing the incident to rule. So physician-owned practices can only see you if you're really being treated by a physician within that practice. And the physician there doesn't really need to be there. If it's a group practice, anybody in the practice can be there. But that's how they're actually doing it. That's how they're getting around the Stark laws. But that's why I don't agree with it, because they're utilizing services twice as much. You're staying there 50% more. And it just doesn't seem right to me to argue that it's not really financially an okay thing for Medicare to be paying for. But again, that's my personal opinion as someone in private practice. I just don't particularly agree with it. My big thing, again, is I wanted you guys to know your rights. You don't have to go anywhere. You can see anybody. You can, if your friend was like, yeah, I went to this great therapist, she listened to me, she really helped me with my fibromyalgia. Well, the doctor said I'm just going to go across the hall. That's cool. The doctor's allowed to say that. But they can't make you go anywhere. If you want to see the recommendation, the therapist that your friend recommended, you're able to go there.
The first time I ever got physical therapy, the orthopedist wrote on a prescription that had basically his physical therapy clinic. So I thought, well, that's where I had to go. So just because he writes a script on a particular clinic doesn't mean I have to go there.
Absolutely. That's exactly right. And that's a great marketing gimmick. You guess what I give out to a lot of physician offices? Referral pads with my name on it. Absolutely. It's fantastic. It's a great marketing play, but that's just it. It's just marketing. That's all it really is. You don't need to go there. Just like if you get a referral pad with my name on it, you're like, yeah, you're too far away. You can go wherever you want, even if you have one of my referral pads. And that's the whole thing, is I want you guys to know that you're empowered. You have the choice to go wherever you want. Now, I want to talk a little bit about chiropractic versus PT, because that's a big debate. How many of you guys have been to a chiropractor? Lots of you. Not quite as many as PT, and that's great. Unlike most PTs, I'm all for chiropractic services, because I do manipulations on my patients on a very frequent basis. And if I think it's okay for me, how dare I say chiropractors shouldn't do it, right? It's very hypocritical. Education-wise, we have about the same level of education. There are little intricacies within our post-grad training that are different. As an example, chiropractors get a lot more nutrition and medical imaging than we really do in school. Thing is we get a lot of pharmacology and medical imaging training because we can do that in the military, so we need to know how to do it. We just can't really do it outside of the military. Great thing about chiropractors is you can go see them. A lot of them have wellness plans to keep you well, to keep you moving. Most PT places don't. I think that's severely lacking in our profession. So if you were looking up at the slide, there actually wasn't a lot of difference. Both require a bachelor degree. Both are 3-year doctorate programs. We have extensive training. Insurance pays for it generally. There's not a whole lot of difference. The big difference being that chiropractors focus more on the spine. Doesn't mean they can't do stuff in your periphery, but they really believe in a healthy spine gives you a healthy life. Most therapists really just fundamentally believe that if you're moving, you have a healthy life. We don't care nearly as much about spine health as they do. And it's just a different way that we utilize what we do. It doesn't actually make us a whole lot different. So, if you're going to a chiropractor and you're like a chiropractor and you think they're helping you, guess what? Keep going. Don't stop. Can bad things happen? Sure, bad things can happen when you go to PT all the time too. Patients fall and can break things. They can hurt themselves from a step flipping on them. And so chiropractors aren't bad. We're all here to keep you moving and keep you well. So, now for the meat and potatoes. So we kind of talked about a little bit about what physical therapy is and where we practice, but what can we really do for you? As we age, we know that we start losing a lot of nutrition to our spine. We lose hydration. The elastin that keeps us moving starts to turn into more of a connective tissue of collagen makeup, so we lose the rebound. Where do we start to notice that the most? Absolutely. Right, you can see it. Well, if it's happening on your face, guess where else it's happening? Your All over you, on the inside, on the outside. And you can see our entire posture starts to change as we age. Now, the other thing that we really do as we age is we stop moving as much. Now, I want to talk a little bit about arthritis versus arthrosis. And I just had this conversation with a patient yesterday. Arthritis is an inflammatory condition of all of the things that are around a joint. Arthrosis is really the breakdown inside the joint. A lot of people have arthritis. A lot of people have arthritis. Not as many people have legitimate arthrosis. Therapy can help with arthritis. However, severe arthrosis is only helped by one thing: surgery, replacements. That severe bone-on-bone contact where you have no joint space at all, therapy can try and help you, but all we can really treat is the arthritis, the swelling, the pain, the achiness in the joint. We can't really do a whole lot for the loss of cartilage inside your joint. That doesn't mean we can't make you better. So, that is a knee. This is your knee. This is your knee on age. Any questions? So, degeneration is natural. It happens. Advanced degeneration, not so great. Thing is, what happens when we start having painful, achy joints? We stop moving as much. We don't like to move. It hurts, so we stop moving. We're actually laying down cartilage all the time. All of you are doing it right now. Problem is, we're not laying it down nearly as fast as the bone is laying down to try and replace the cartilage. Here's where the pain comes in. Because we can't build the cartilage, your body starts building up bone. Bone spurs. You guys have heard those horrible words off of a plain film x-ray, right? Oh, the doctor said I had bone spurs. Can't really do anything about it. It's kind of true. All you can really do is shave them down. A lot of times bone spurs can cause arthritis from the irritation of the tissue around the joint. Because it's trying to do is replace the cartilage that's lost. Okay? So bone spurs are, in a way, a natural occurrence from the loss of cartilage. Now, what happens in your spine as we age? Well, we mentioned dehydration. Those discs become more dehydrated. You guys ever left a donut out way too long? It gets hard, maybe it shrinks a little bit, the chocolate icing on the top gets all cracky and nasty. That's a disc. That's exactly what happens to our discs as we age. So the disc migrates more into the vertebral body, which are the bones in between the discs. You have less nutrition across the end plate, which is the top and bottom of the disc. You have type 1 fibers that are mobile, getting replaced by the type 2 fibers in your disc, just like they're getting replaced everywhere else in your body. Okay? So all of that leads to decreased range of motion. That picture on the, I guess it'd be your right, is what a spine can look like over time. As we age, instead of the disc absorbing a lot of our body weight, it starts to go into the facet joints. So you start bearing weight in different places and where you're not supposed to. When that happens, movement, shearing forces, aren't tolerated as much on the disc, which can lead to tearing of the disc. That's painful, guys. That happens, and it happens a lot. It happens as we age. That's why some studies suggest over 80% of us experience low back pain at some point in our life. This is part of the reason. What else happens as we age? Start shrinking, right? All that disc height's a component of it, but some of this stuff, increased hip and knee flexion. I'm going to borrow this real quick. Excuse me, ladies. Any volunteers for Low Link? This is right up your alley. What happens as we age and we don't want to get out of our home?
You become couch potatoes.
That's right, baby. I don't know much, but I know Drew Carey ain't as good as Bob Barker on The Price is Right. You look at that picture all the way on the right there of the person that looks terrible. They're looking down, their chest area has sagged down to their belly button. The pelvis has moved, the hips have moved, the knees have moved. Guess what? I'm going to stand up. Now I'm the person in the picture, aren't I? Right? As we age, stuff starts hurting, we start staying more time in a chair. There's your changes, guys. There's your changes. Ligament damage. Well, we just mentioned that we start losing height. Guess what ligaments are? Ligaments are strong connective things on two ends of bones that keep us in place. What happens if the two ends start shrinking? Now those ligaments become lax. They also start losing hydration. They all start getting brittle. They don't hold the way that they need to. So they're losing nutrition, and they shrink or stretch depending on which side you're at. Problem is, they're not taking the weight anymore the way that they were supposed to when we were younger. So again, it's putting more weight through your joints. What happens to our joints as we age? That's no different than a spine. There's your bone spurs, facet arthropathy, neural encroachment, all those fun things that you read about on the MRI. That's the death sentence, right? So, there we go. Now we're screwed. We age, everything falls apart, everything's dehydrated, we're just going to be stuck like this. Absolutely not. What are you low-end guys trying to do? You're trying to get people up and moving, right? Well, what do we know causes all of this joint breakdown? What do we know? Wear and tear, right? We've been moving. You know what? When I was younger, I used to run 5 miles a day, so now I need a knee replacement. We hear that a lot, don't we? Yeah. Well, Harvard researcher decided to start digging up skeletons. Let's see what our ancestors looked like, because we suck. Well, we're living longer. We weigh a little more. We have plentiful food. That's why our joints are going bad, right? Nope. Turns out we were very wrong. Now, this is a very new study. This just came out. This was from the winter. Thing is, the researchers at Harvard start looking at, well, what if we modify it for age, for weight? We're still twice as likely to have arthritis now than our ancestors that had to move all the time, running down that deer, right? They should have been having wicked arthritis. They move a lot more than us. Wear and tear. I don't need no wear and tear. Well, turns out it's the inactivity. What are we doing a lot more than our ancestors?
Sitting down.
We're doing that a lot more. That's why that's the proposal is that's why we're having arthritis. It's very interesting. So can we actually do something about it? What happens if we start moving then? Well, research is telling us that physical therapy, or more precisely, physical activity, can increase your range of motion. If all that collagen that's laying down, with physical activity, it can actually line up a little bit better as opposed to laying down like scar tissue. We can have an increased stretch tolerance, which leads to less pain. Trying to stretch a tight muscle hurts. Stretch it a little bit without pain, then all of a sudden when you stretch it, it doesn't hurt as much. A lot of you guys that went through therapy and you had a tight shoulder, they stretched it a little bit. It might have hurt, a little bit of a different hurt. It's a good hurt. Then all of a sudden your range was restored. Now your shoulder didn't hurt anymore. We know that passive stimulation of mechanoreceptors, that's us mobilizing joints. That's you getting your adjustments at the chiropractor. All of that has been shown to significantly reduce pain and increase range of motion, even if on a temporary basis. Physical activity has been shown to have immediate and long-lasting effects in a very positive direction. So, what was the problem we talked about? Degeneration leads to all of these physiological changes, dehydration, low oxygen, acidic environment, which is inflammation. Well, guess what? Exercise activity reduces all that concentration and pH within the joints. Viscosity change in synovial fluid. As we age and as we have inflammation, the stuff that's inside the joints, it's thicker, it's not moving as much. Well, what do? We give ourselves an oil change. Movement changes that viscosity. It's like getting an oil change for your car. We know this from science. It's pretty fantastic. We have increases in tissue strength. Increase in stretching can reduce risk for further injury. Stretch reduced hypertrophy can occur within a couple of weeks. So you don't even need to be doing this for a long period of time. You can already start to feel the effects of it. It's fantastic. So exercise actually does reduce the effects of aging. We know that. Movement reduces it. So you volunteers that are going into these homes and you're trying to get these people up and moving, exercise them. Get them up and moving a little bit. Exercise doesn't need to be deadlifting 300 pounds. Exercise can be something very, very simple. The bottom line is, as we age, we tend to sit more, we tend to become less active, which is feeding the problem. The solution is movement. So what can we do?
Right, guys?
Bottom line is, what we've really found out, it doesn't matter. You want to walk? You want to do some yoga? You want to do Pilates? You want to walk your dog? You want to walk on a treadmill? You want to get on an elliptical? You want to ride a bike? You want to kayak? You want to not play pickleball? So, funny story that I couldn't get it up on the computer fast enough. Dad's not supposed to be playing pickleball a lot right now. He's not. So I come in, and I'm getting introduced to everybody, and I'm saying hi, and I walk in, I can't find Dad. That's Dad not playing pickleball. It doesn't matter. You like tennis? Cool. Absolutely. You like walking on the beach? Awesome. You like swimming? Great. Do it. Your low-link volunteers, what did your clients like to do? Get them incited, get them invigorated to do something. Because it doesn't matter. Movement is key. Exercise is key. And that helps with everything, okay? And I'm not going to go through this a whole lot. I just want you guys to see on this slide that resistance helps. Adding a little bit of TheraBand, which can be very, very light. But one of the mistakes that we commonly make is reducing resistance because you're old and fragile. How many of you guys feel old and fragile? Put your hand down.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, ma'am.
What about if you can't get out and walk all around, walking around your house? Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I've been told that it's better to walk outside, whatever. And then, of course, I've fallen 3 times doing it. But
Whoever said it was better was really, I'm not going to call them a liar.
no.
It was more along the lines of, what do we do when we walk around the house? I exercise every day. I get up out of my chair, I get my beer, and I do 12-ounce curls. Not saying that that's you, just saying that.
I do have a wine in one of the rooms that I paid for.
Perfect. 8-ounce curls. Don't forget to lift the pinky. Movement. So, like I said, I'm not really calling them a liar, but the idea is, a lot of times I hear, I'm very active. I get up and go to my kitchen and come back all the time. Yeah, it doesn't really count. If you're getting up and moving, and as a matter of fact, everybody stand up. Everybody up. I'm going to give that to you. so you can hold on to the back of it.
Oh, no,
You don't need it though.
no, I'm still young.
So, all you guys that were saying, well, what can we do? It's fantastic. These are kitchen sink exercises. You can stand up, holding on to something in front of you, and you can do a simple march in place. Right? You're not taking it, you guys are really, there are a lot more people here than I thought, which was awesome. But you can march in place. You can very slowly, unless you don't like your neighbor, then really fast and hard to the side. You can do little butt kicks. Yep. You can get up on your heels and toes and just rock back and forth. On the back of your square, squats are bad, but they're not bad. You can do tiny little mini squats, and almost everybody can do these. You don't need to get your butt to the ground to do a squat. You can do tiny little mini squats holding on to something. Anything. Sink, couch, neighbor, dog, uncle, whatever. All right. Oh yeah, that's great. Get a little shake in it. Get some shoulder movement in it. Yeah, I like it. So you guys can sit back down. Yes, sir.
Oh, golf.
Golf's great. Golf's great. It's walk. Absolutely.
He said if you want.
I go to Travis. I have degenerative spinal stenosis and scoliosis.
Scoliosis.
Yeah. And 3 surgeons told me there was nothing they could do for me. And my friend right here said to me, "Where's your walker?" This is why.
Dig it. Awesome. But here's the thing. Now guess what happens when Carol goes for her follow-up CT scan or X-ray? Guess what's changed? Nothing. She has arthrosis. You care if I talk about you a little bit? Awesome. She has arthrosis. Her spine is awful. It looks like some poor pimply-faced teenager. There's bumps everywhere, all over it. It's twisted, it's curved. It looks like she shouldn't be able to walk. Have I fixed her arthrosis?
No.
Nope.
When the last surgeon I went to wrote my prescription, what he wrote was horrible degenerative.
Yeah. Yeah, it was either horrible or wicked. It was something, it's like, oh, so you're that, got it. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
When you get started with exercise, you don't have to stand. There's many exercises in a chair.
Absolutely. There's chair yoga. There's silver sneakers, which band you can do. You can put bands everywhere. You're exactly right. Right. Absolutely. You don't need to stand.
No.
Right. The kitchen sink exercises, they're just a suggestion.
There's a thing on TV for people that really have a hard time. It's called Sit and Be Fit.
Yep. Absolutely. Because guess what sit and be fit is? Guess what they're doing?
Exercising.
Moving, exercising. It doesn't matter.
Stationary bike put on the floor.
Heck yes. Absolutely.
How about yard work?
Even a self-propelled mower. Yes.
Well, I rake leaves and mow the yard with a push mower.
Yep, movement's great. And getting to the point about golf, by the way, a better way of doing it is never get off the cart path. You can still ride, but don't drive right up. So, and I did this when I golfed. I drive it up, there's the ball, I get out.
Yeah.
Do-do-do. And I'm not really doing anything. But if you park on your cart path and walk to the ball, and then walk back, you're gonna get plenty in. And you can still ride. I was just joking about needing to walk it. But yeah, there are tons of resources out there. There's this amazing thing called the internet. And you can just look up whatever you want. Sit and be fit, awesome. Chair exercises with the band, awesome. Kitchen sink exercises, anything. Getting people moving.
The critters.
What's that?
Catching critters.
Catching critters. So more shameless self-promotion. If you don't know where to start, we actually do have a wellness program called Better You. It's on our website, but it is actually multifaceted based off of what you need out of it, and it even includes a personal trainer coming to your home. So,
Coming to your home?
coming to your home. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because we care about you staying moving. My problem with the physical therapy profession is retreat and street.
I want to talk to you.
How many of you guys are still doing your physical therapy exercises after being discharged? Like 2. How many people went to physical therapy? We want you to keep doing this stuff. We want to keep you a better you, the one that you were when you got discharged. And so that's why we developed the program. We also have a really awesome program called Rock Steady Boxing, and it's specifically for people with Parkinson's. And it's amazing. People with Parkinson's, you're like, well, it's kind of a death sentence. But it is not at all. And we've been doing Rock Steady now. We are an affiliate member, so we are Rock Steady Fredericksburg. And my colleague Rich Gaudio runs it. And I have seen dramatic results. I was at the Parkinson's Walk a couple of weeks ago at the Spotsylvania YMCA. And some of the people that were doing the walk were in Rock Steady Boxing and weren't really rocking the way that they were when they were doing the walk to gain money for Parkinson's research. It's amazing. So there are programs out there for all walks of life. MS. There's an MS group that meets at the Masset branch of the YMCA.
I'm getting ready to take on a challenge. I have a cousin.
Mm-hmm.
Served 17 years in the Marine Corps. And I want to open my home to him because I have the knowledge up here to take care of people with different things. Like my dad had cancer.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do this for him. So I'm up for a challenge with that, you know.
Absolutely. The YMCA has an MS group that meets once a week. I think it's Tuesdays at 10 a.m. It's the one off of Butler Road. And it's incredible. We just started working with them with that program. But they're...
He's lazy. That's right. I said, you go to my house, you're not going to be lazy.
That's part of our Better You program. Absolutely. And actually, the trainer that just started running that with the Y has her own personal training business where she goes to people's home and exercises them.
Good.
Yeah, and she's actually one of our trainers as well, so we talk all the time.
Well, you're talking about that Rock Steady Boxing, is that on the internet? Can I
Yes.
look that up on the internet?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. All right, so real quick, I wanted to talk about vestibular rehabilitation. Because like lymphedema, this is a very small subset of what physical therapists can actually do. And I'll tell you what I'm tired of hearing. I got really dizzy one morning. I went to the ER. They gave me meclizine, which would be Anavert, and they gave me some type of calming pill, like they just gave me a Vicodin to get me to calm down. And I went home and it didn't get any better. So 6 weeks later, I'm still dizzy. I went to my GP. They sent me to a neurologist who couldn't find anything wrong on the MRI, so they sent me to the ENT. And the ENT may or may not actually do anything for you. And then you finally find the right person that refers you to vestibular rehabilitation. And you've been living with vertigo that can be fixed in 5 minutes because nobody knew what to do with you. And I have marketed to ERs. I don't care. Don't send them to me. I'm not here for your business. These are the exercises to give these people that say, I woke up with the room spinning. Guess what they do? They file it and keep giving out Anavert. And so every time I do a talk, I try and talk with you guys about vertigo. Because it's something that affects a lot of people. Yes, ma'am.
Can I just say something? I'm on a couple of medications because I have atrial fib, and a lot of them say it causes dizziness.
Yes.
And so, how do you know which one's doing it? So you have to eliminate one. Huh? I will. Because I have fallen 3 times since August. And the last fall I hit my head, and the funny part of it is I had tremors. I don't have any tremors anymore after I hit my head.
You better not fall again then.
I mean, it was really
Yeah, so I'd be lying if I said that a vestibular rehabilitation specialist can fix everything with regard to dizziness, falling, and vertigo. But we can fix a lot of it through habituation exercises. So we actually take you through a motion sensitivity analysis, see what's really bothering you, and then kind of take you through a sub-maximal exercise routine that gets you used to those movements, which significantly reduces your fall risk.
What about my husband?
Oh, okay.
He has vertigo.
Mm-hmm.
He's on medicine. He just went through a lot of tests for his inner ear
Mm-hmm.
and everything.
And everything was fine.
Yep.
Everything was fine.
Mm-hmm.
They still want to give him medicine.
Mm-hmm. We'll talk later.
Okay.
So, your vestibular system is your inner ear, okay? It's right behind your eardrum. And it's responsible for measuring acceleration in space and telling your brain your head position in space. People describe vertigo and dizziness in a bunch of different ways, okay? So really the overarching thing is dizziness. Vertigo is a type of that. But people will still say, well, I don't have dizziness, I just fall all the time. Or I don't have vertigo, I just feel a little off. That's fine. I hear descriptors that go all over the place. However you're experiencing is exactly how you're experiencing it. Okay? So a lot of people can use different names for it. This is the actual definition of it, which is a sense of whirling, loss of balance, particularly associated with looking down from a great height. Or a disease affecting the inner ear. There can be several different causes of this. On this, I didn't list medications because it's not really a problem with your vestibular system, it's a side effect of the medications, but that doesn't mean that we can't help. Okay? Yeah, don't worry about this. I wanted to show you something. Balance is really complex, but it can be made really, really simple. We have 3 systems that work on our balance. We have proprioception. Everybody close your eyes. Cut your nose. That's proprioception. Okay? You can all open up your eyes again. It's knowing your body's position in space. And we have little receptors all across our muscles and joints to tell our brain our body's position in space. We have our vestibular system for our head's position in space, and the big one. How many people know it's a little bit harder to keep your balance in the middle of the night? Yeah. Guess what? 80% of our balance is through these big white orbs right here, is vision. Okay? Yes, sir?
I take 2 medications. I wrote it down there, gabapentin and Primonon for balance,
Mm-hmm.
and it works.
Yeah, that's great. And medications can completely fix it. I don't want you to also think that I'm saying that vestibular rehabilitation is the fix for literally everything. And a lot of people with diabetic neuropathy, or neuropathy in general, or nerve death, or nerve pain, can absolutely benefit from GABA type of medications like gabapentin, Neurontin, Lyrica, stuff like that. My point being that we have 3 systems that come in, we process it in the brain, and then we have an output. Output is motor function. I told you all to close your eyes and touch your nose. There's your output, was the actual movement of that. Likewise, it's us walking in the middle of the night. So all of this leads to balance. It's incredibly complex, but it can pretty much be broken down. You have 3 systems of input that go into your brain, and it processes it, and then it makes you move. Any breakdown of any one of those systems can cause decreased balance. This is what the vestibular system looks like. So if we actually take it out of your inner ear, the part that we care about, here's your cochlea, that's how you can hear. The part that I'm talking about is your vestibular system, right here, this weird alien looking thing with the 3 circles, okay? It has 2 major parts. The saccule and utricle, which are oriented horizontally and vertically, and they measure acceleration. They're little hair cells covered in gel with tiny little oconigo, which are calcium crystals up on top. The other part of the vestibular system are your semicircular canals. And they're all fluid-filled canals with one bulbous end that fluid can't pass through, and it just moves one way or the other. That causes your eyes to move in an equal and opposite direction. Whenever you guys have been nodding yes and no to me, your eyes are staying focused on me, but you're actually turning your eyes opposite your head. You guys see that? So like right now, I'm looking way up at all of you. Now I'm looking down on you. Benign paroxysmal positional vertigo is what you get. I don't know what happened, but I woke up in the middle of the night and I went to sit up and the room started spinning and I threw up everywhere.
Yeah.
Benign paroxysmal positional vertigo happens up to 50% of individuals over the age of 65. Okay? Guess what? No medications. No hospital visits. You can fix this on your own in 5 minutes or less. Okay? Here's the problem with it. I mentioned those otoconia, those crystals. Well, they break off, and sometimes a bunch of them can get into one of these canals. Okay? That are those black circles down there in the bottom part of that picture. Now when you move your head, or you roll over to get out of bed, everything moves the way that it's supposed to. But then those crystals come up and start smacking into it. It causes your eyes to move. Your eyes start doing this. Nobody do that one. Actually, I'm kidding. Everybody do it. It's good for business. Stand up. It gives the illusion that the room is spinning. Okay? So, what do we have to do to fix BPPV? Oh, I already mentioned that. That's just where it goes. All we have to do to fix it is get you to roll around a little bit. That's it. The crystals are in the wrong spot. We just got to get them to curl around and flush back out. It's actually a ridiculously easy technique. Okay? So, if you think about the crystals being down here, we have to get them to move over, up, and around, and flush back in the middle part of the ear. So what do? You turn your head to the side, whichever side you think is the affected side, and you drop back and get your head to extend over a pillow. Okay? So your head turned 45 degrees to the affected side, and you drop back with your head over top of a pillow. Now you'll notice on here, their head isn't hanging off the edge of a bed. A lot of people tell you to do it. You don't need to. If you put a pillow on your shoulders, you're still getting that extension from your head, and you're getting your head in the right spot. If you're having BPPV, it's going to make you dizzy. Work through it. Let it pass. If you have to get up and throw up because you're super nauseated, that's fine. Then you go back to it. You have to work through that initial dizziness. It's generally gone within 10 to 15 seconds. Okay? Once it's gone, you wait 30 seconds. And then you turn your head to the other side. You wait for any dizziness to go away, and then you add 30 seconds. So this person has left-sided BPPV. They dropped over with their head turned 45 degrees to the left with extended over the pillow. Their head is supported on the bed. They waited for their dizziness to go away, plus 30 seconds. Then they turned their head 90 degrees to the right, so now they're at a 45-degree angle to the right. They're waiting for any dizziness to go away, plus 30 seconds. You keep your head turned and roll your whole body over onto the right side so that you're kind of looking down towards the floor. Wait for any dizziness to go away, plus 30 seconds. And then you sit up. Guess what you just did? You flushed the crystals out. Cured. 88, just 1 second. 88% of the time, you're fixed in 1 turn. 95% of the time, you're fixed in 2. Yes, sir.
This is good, because I get this problem, but I was told also to lean over and get the blood all up in the head. You know, no? Good, because I didn't want to do that. So.
Nope, don't need to do it at all.
Okay.
Nope. So, if you wake up with the room spinning, try this exercise. This is on my website, which again is fusionpta.com. I have a whole thing about vestibular rehab on there and this exercise. Again, just to sum things up, I'm not really here to gain your business. I'd like it, But I wanted to make sure you guys knew what physical therapists can do, that you have a choice in who you see, regardless of who tells you who to go to. You can go to whomever you want. And I wanted to make sure you guys knew how to fix people that have room spinning vertigo, which is BPPV. Okay? So, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.